Hi Cubs, it's good to see you again after a while. Please forgive me for this video as it is a little bit late, but it is my tier list for the EX04 format. Now you probably are hearing in my voice that I am a bit sick, so please be patient with me in this video. But please do like, comment, and subscribe if you like these kind of videos, as we're going to be having videos coming in more often. If you're seeing a lot of cuts during this video, just because I might need to do a coughing fit. But let's get started with it. Now, I know some people can get a bit tilted when it comes to saying things are tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So I like to categorize my tier list as spicy, little spice, and lemon and pepper. So none of them are really bad, but it just depends on your choice of the format. If you always like to play spicy things, you definitely want to aim for the red. Little spice means that you're just doing what you love, but especially lemon and pepper. But never have I ever said that a lemon and pepper can't go up to the top when it comes to locals. So, shall we get on it? Now, the first stop is going to be Armor Rush. Now, Armor, there's been a lot of iterations now because of All Force and Armor, but and there is a gold Digimon which is meant to be able to support the deck, but I still feel Armor Rush is kind of lemon and pepper during this format. I think what it does is pretty good, but you can break it down a little bit harder, like in terms of the other decks of this format, but I might change my mind during the video, and if you do too, please let me know. Now, Beelzemon. Beelzemon has been getting a lot of new support, and especially in BT13, she'll get more support. I feel like she's not ready yet as in terms of the deck, but I think she's still quite good, so I might leave her at the end of Little Spice because she has gotten some support, which people would probably want to play her a little bit more now than usual. And her card prices are going up, as we'll probably see in another Market Watch video. So I kind of feel like Beelstar has gotten a bit higher. Red Hybrid. Red Hybrid was my deck for the previous meta. Red Hybrid is pretty fast. It's really consistent, but in terms of this meta, I'm not quite sure where it stands because it has topped quite a few of the current meta, of the previous meta. So I kind of do feel it is still pretty consistent. However, with the new decks that are coming in and with the new kind of gears that we use for the decks like Alliance and everything else in between, it probably won't exactly make the line too high. So I'm gonna carefully put it up in Little Spice. I love Red Hybrid. I would definitely put it up in Spicy, but I feel like now with some of the new format, it might go into Little Spice. Just for now, just for now. Let's talk about this last because I think it's pretty obvious where that was going to go. Now, Crossheart didn't really top that much. Surprisingly, even though we had the superior mode, it didn't really do too much for the deck. But I think it's still pretty good in some of the matches. So I think it'll definitely come before Red Hybrid. I think if it was to do with this, I think Cross would definitely come before it. It's still pretty good as its deck in itself. It just won't be receiving any support, I think, for a while now. Probably until after BT15, if all of the leaks have been so correct. So I think Cross would definitely be in the Little Spice at the moment. But I've seen some people do wonders with the deck itself. All right, now we're talking about Blue Flare. Blue Flare has gotten support in this set. The support is quite good, and I think a lot of people have seen the support as very, 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 very helpful for the deck, that not just in Ultimate Cups, it'll be very good in everything else. I don't think the Dark Knightmon version is the best. You can correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys have some recipes that are much better. But I think Blue Flare is an interesting spot. Like, it also depends on the player. To be honest, it's almost like it deserves to be a little bit in the spicy because it has a good matchup. I actually did see someone top with Blue Flare in my current tournament. So, but it doesn't seem like it's quite there yet, because if it does versus a Jogress deck, this deck can't really progress. And since we're going into more Jogress decks, it's a bit, or Jogress inspired decks, it's a bit less spicy. I've always thought Blue Flare has had a chance with the big runs, and I kind of feel weird putting it as Little Spice. I would say it's probably at the end of Spicy. in my opinion. At least even with an Ultimate Cup, I think it'll do very well. So I'll keep it in the spicy. If anyone hates me for it, they can. Bloomlord. Okay, Bloomlord got hit with the recent restriction. However, it hasn't really done too badly considering you can replace some parts of the deck. I do say that its speed or like its cognition is just a little bit slower. So I'm gonna put it at the top of Little Spice. Dark Nightmon. Dark Nightmon. It's an interesting deck. It's had all of the support in terms of the cards that have come out for this set and the last set. But I still feel it's a little bit inconsistent in the sense that it thrives to Tamer Deletion. If you don't see Nene, you're pretty much dead. I think the new cards do help it a little bit, but it's just because of the whole Blue Flare support, it's a bit interesting. More research probably needs to be a bit done with this deck. I don't feel like it's completely Lemon Pepper. I'm assuming it's probably a bit better, but I think if the Darkness Bagramon Secret was better for the deck, it would have definitely been up on like the Little Spice tier. But for right now, I think it's Lemon and Pepper. Mirage Galgamon. Now, a lot of people are buying these cards because they know BT13's on the horizon. There has been some new cards for EX04, and even my friend who recently did the Ultimate Cup actually went to top 32 with Mirage just with the new cards that have been added. So I think it's getting there, but it's still a bit Lemon and Pepper because it hasn't reached there yet. Hunters. Now, because Beelzemon has been restricted, Hunters is probably going to be the top of this format still. It's just a very good deck, and I think it could do wonders. People are wondering why D-Brigade is in here. So the one thing that's really good at beating Jogress decks is speed. Now, D-Brigade, I feel like it still doesn't have the top speed. It needs the support from BT14, and there's been so many buyouts with it. So right now, I think it would be definitely Lemon and Pepper, despite its speed. It can create a huge board, but I feel like it's just not quite enough to fit with any kind of Jogress decks. Speaking of one, there is Examon. Examon is really good. I feel like Examon is like the Yu-Gi-Oh player's deck because you can do so much on your opponent's turn. I always get traumatized by Examon until Mastermon had its support. Examon is an interesting one. I kind of feel like it's still very slow, and if you brick, you're pretty much dead. But if you do get at least one Examon out, it can give you enough time to kind of go into a better one. But it doesn't feel like it could go into Little Spice at the moment. It still feels like a little bit of a top Lemon and Pepper, the way I would say it. Shine Greymon. Now, Shine Greymon is having another round of support next set, and this set we all know, we've seen what's been happening in Japan, and I think Shine Greymon is definitely a scary deck to see coming. I don't know when English restriction will hit it though, because we know it's guaranteed to be hit, but for all the people that want to play it, I feel like there's still a little bit of spice. I think Red Hybrid is still a bit stronger, more consistent. But it's just above Beelzemon in the sense of spice, so I think it's pretty good. All right, Beelzemon. Beelzemon has greatly slowed down since the restriction of the Impmon from EX2. I kind of feel it's still fast, and you can still get things going, but I just feel like it's not exactly where it was before. Like, Hunters can still get this deck really good. So I think I might place it in top of Bloomlord. I still feel like a lot of purple players would probably know what they're doing with Beelzemon, even regardless of the restriction. We've seen Noah Terry place second with Beelzemon in the Ultimate Cup, even with the restriction, but that's also in Ultimate Cup format. So if we're going to see it from a whole meta's view, I think it's now a little bit of spice. You could probably see with all the card stuff going down, but it's still a relevantly really, really good deck. It just doesn't feel like it should just be in Little Spice, but possibly in Spicy. But I think it's just like it slowed down so much from what it was. It never was a tier 0 deck, but I think it can be very flexible in a lot of ways. All Force is the same thing, almost the same story as Beelzemon. It's really shining, except it never really shined too much on the meta format, but I think that there have been some players that have really shown with All Force, and I commend you guys for that, because not only have you put your wallets down on this with all the arena prices, but you have actually shown people that this deck can be a bit more viable. But right now in this format, I would say it's a bit of a lemon and pepper. Just because in terms of Ultimate Cup, I think it would be great and wonderful. In terms of now, it might be a bit more consistent, but I think it's still a bit easier to break it down. Blue Hybrid. I've been seeing a lot of lists where they've been having Blue Hybrid as a part of their decks. Either it's like Blue Hybrid All Fours, Blue Hybrid Fish deck, and yes, it's still good, but I feel like it's just not as good as Red Hybrid. So I'll probably put it, honestly, just before Armor Rush. I love Koji. Please, guys, don't come at me. But Koji right now is not fulfilling it exactly. There was some Blue Hybrid cards that came out in this set with the Lanamon. But I think it's just not quite enough for this particular meta. Mervamon has gotten some support in this set as well. I think a lot of Mervamon enjoyers will be enjoying it, that what's been happening in the set. I'm sorry, Mervamon enjoyers will be enjoying it, guys. I told you I have a cold. I'm not thinking quite straight. So I would say that Mervamon would definitely before Shine Gray, but I think Red Hybrid's just a little bit quicker, and Crossheart and Bloom and Beels. But I think Mervamon, you can do some fun things with it. Galacticmon. Continuing on. Okay, Galenmon. Galenmon is kind of a weird deck. It's received so much support, but it's still semi-inconsistent. It's just barely on the line of getting something new. It's sad for the deck because it's so many people's favorites, I would say. Even I have a soft spot for Galantmon, but I think it's just not quite there. There's always going to be support. I think a BT13 will definitely be stronger, but right now I think it's your lemon and pepper. It does still do better than all fours, Examon, and everything else in between, but I think it's not quite as good, even though there is the raid. Mastamon, oh my baby. I love Mastamon. I love it a bit. Now, giving memory is always a really, really bad time. During these past two sets, I feel like if you give your opponent too much memory, you're dead automatically. And sometimes even with Murray, the deck can be a bit inconsistent. I still think because of Shine Gray Ruin mode though, it's given this deck a lot more life. BT14 is when Mastamon will shine. But right now, I think it's gonna be a little spice. We'll see. I think before Mervamon, almost in the middle with Red Hybrid. And yes, I'm probably playing favorites with that, but I still gotta do it. Blackwell Greymon. It's scary how the mighty decks have fallen from Metal Guru to this and Beelzemon. Blackwell Greymon is still a good force. I think it's still meta relevant. It's just not as powerful as it used to be, which is all good and fair. But I think if you were to mix it with the War Greymon Toolbox, it makes sense, but that one I've already put here. I would say Blackwell Greymon just a bit slower. The fact is I actually beat it with Mastamon quite a few times now. So to be able to place it in a way, probably, I could still say it's a bit more consistent than Mastamon, because at least if you find your pieces, you're somewhat safe, whereas with Mastamon you can't. Red Hybrid I think is still really strong, but it does kill Red Hybrid just a little bit with the Tamer deletion, I think. Oh, look at that. I didn't even notice that it was that correct. But yeah, I think it's still spicy, just not as good as it used to be. Mother D Reaper. Mother D Reaper is probably lemon and pepper. People have said that it's quite good for them. But I kind of feel like it still needs, if it can get support, it definitely needs support. There's some cards that you can kind of throw in for it. But for me, I think it's lemon and pepper. Ravemon. Oh, everyone was looking so much forward to this deck. I really wanted to because of the jamming in purple, but I think it's still, in terms of lemon and pepper, I would call it just under All Force. All Force is probably much better, I would say, than these two decks. But yes, maybe, yeah, I think Mother D Reaper is still a pretty scary deck in some situations. Imperial. I know so many people that were excited for Imperial in terms of the deck and how it run. I played a little bit against someone because it was their deck and I almost beat them, which was really good, but it just hasn't really quite met the line, unfortunately. So I think it would stay here with Galakrond in terms of lemon and pepper. The thing about EX sets, which I believe, is that it's made to remind you that the game is a game. Don't get too tilted. Don't always get too competitive. It's like a rest period between competitive, and you can kind of test and treat what you want. But it's still very important as a set, just because you get all the cards that you might need in the next set. So let's talk about Greymon Toolbox. It didn't top as much as a lot of people had thought, but I still think it has really good spice, because if you mix this with Blackwell Greymon, it's a really good deck in terms of it. So I think it would just go above, probably, I think it would go probably just above Crossheart. I think just in terms of War Grey, I have a Toolbox, I would put it there, because there's so much support and so many cards that you can fix in and make in your own. It's pretty good. All right, let's talk about the Sakuya deck, Kuzuhamon. I adore Sakuyamon, but Kuzuhamon almost doesn't fit in her own deck. It doesn't quite make sense. And I'm so sad because I really love Sakuyamon. I think it's not really making the line, so it's definitely a lemon and pepper. I think it actually goes almost next to Galacticmon. I say that Galactimon's actually a good card, but it's just like I've been beaten so many times unnecessarily by Galactimon players. Yes, it's a skill issue. Please don't come at me. The next one we're going to talk about is Chaos Galantmon. Chaos Galantmon is going to be a very fun deck, I think. I built it in terms of like the deck thing. I haven't been able to get an EX04 box just yet. Also, I've got a coffee in case you guys want to be able to donate for that. Shameless plug. I'm very sorry. But I think Chaos Galantmon is actually going to be really fun, but it's definitely limited spice. The thing is, Galantmon basically beats Chaos Galantmon, so we love that lore for us. But I think it is probably between Ravemon and Examon. Let's talk about Alliance, dogs and bunnies. Yes, Terriermon's a dog. I know, we've all been shocked for like 30 years, but we still need to get over it. I think it's a very cute deck. Lopmon is my child. I love Lopmon so much, but it doesn't quite make the line. And I would say it's not as better than Imperial Mother D Reaper, but it just comes before Ravemon, and I'm excited to be able to play the deck. Now, this Chaos Ramon is to represent security control. Security control is definitely coming back because of Shadow Seraphimon. I think people should be afraid, because I remember watching one of Mario's streams, and he said that probably the most consistent deck in every format is security control. I think in the last format, it suffered a little bit more, but in this format, it's shining again. So I might have to put it right around, I think just after Crossheart, because security control is just really good in terms of the meta. Now, for Ambimon Alter S, it is a Jogress deck, so I'm extremely excited to be able to play this deck. I was not a part of the BT5 era, so just to be able to play an Omnimon deck, it's just like, I don't know, it triggers something that sparks joy in me. I have this Marie Kondo fixation with it, and it's just so good. So I think it's going to be really fun. I think as a deck itself, it's really, really good. And I realized I missed one card that I wanted to talk about, so I'll probably talk about it at the end of where it is. I think in terms of this, it's probably spicy. Spicy. Blue Flare wouldn't really survive with this. Yeah, I think it would beat Blue Flare just because of a Jogress kind of deck. It's like, it's so hard to be able to choose. But the last one, which I didn't talk about, was Machine Dramon, which I'm surprised I didn't be able to save. I wasn't able to save the image for that, or it didn't save at all. I think Machine Dramon would actually be on the spicy tier list if I was to put a fourth one. Machine Dramon, it's gotten a lot better because of the lack of the Beelzemon Tyrant. But I think it still needs a little way to go, because hunters can still get that deck, because you just, oh, you've built a Machine Dramon. Let me just go into superior mode and just put something under, like, put your Machine Dramon on your analog mon. Analogmon, oh my goodness, Analog Man, and you can't do anything about it. So I think Machinedramon is definitely up here. I really wanted to be able to play at this meta before we hit to the Royal Knights, which I'm excited, and Gamamon. So I think Machinedramon would definitely be in the spicy list. Well guys, that is all for my tier list at the moment. If there's any decks that I missed out, please let me know, and I would love to include it in the next one for BT13. I'm really excited for all these formats, and I feel like it's just like Digimon just keeps getting more and more interesting in my opinion. But I also want to be able to hear your thoughts. If you want to support your girl, please like, share, comment on this video. I would love all of that as I'm trying to get more into the YouTube partner reach. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.